How do you find the defendant not guilty? That is the sex trafficking of Cassandra Ventura. On count 3, which is Mann Act transportation involving Cassie Ventura, guilty. Count 4, sex trafficking of Jane, not guilty. Count 5, Mann Act transportation of Jane, guilty.
Disrupt America that I fought for.
Weird thing to happen. The word is out, folks. The word is out. The verdict is in on the Sean P. Diddy, Dumb Diddy Do Combs trial. And there is a lot of reaction to this, folks. A lot of mixed reactions on this certain verdict and the whole trial as a whole. And people have been watching this and have seen through the prosecution and who's involved in this trial. It may be not that shocking to hear this verdict, but as you can tell, it has caused a stir across not only America, but around the world. Here's just a headline here. This is from the New York Post, where obviously the front page, Notorious P.I.G. Diddy acquitted on top charges, but still, he's still a baby oil-obsessed woman beater. Because there's no way to hide that clip that we saw of him in his hotel room beating up Cassie Ventura. There's no way to cover that up. There's no way to turn that around. So, obviously, this guy, still a monster, still notorious, but he got acquitted. Which shocked some people, but maybe not shocked a lot of people, as you're about to find out here. So, here, this is from NBC News. Breaking this down, it says Sean Diddy Combs found not guilty of racketeering and sex trafficking, but convicted of lesser charges because, hey, we wasted this time on a criminal court case. We have to give the audience something. It's like when they did the enormous trial on Tamara Leach and Chris Barber, and they couldn't find any evidence, and then at some point they're like, well, we wasted this time, we wasted this energy. We got to do something because otherwise people will then think of us as a joke, the whole judicial process, which in a lot of cases, the whole judicial process is an absolute joke. It is an absolute joke because of how many crimes and how many top elite criminals within politics, within the banking system that have done the insidious crimes against humanity just walk away scot-free. Like, it is just a joke, the entire judicial process. And this is no different. This is just another example, another notch in the fact that the judicial system is not going to prosecute someone of actual heinous crimes. And you'll see why in a second. So the article goes on to say, Sean Diddy Combs, the one-time global hip-hop titan, whose federal trial unveiled harrowing testimony accusing him of sexual abuse against women and forced drug-dazed freak-offs, was acquitted Wednesday of racketeering, conspiracy, and sex trafficking, but found guilty of lesser charges. The jury's verdict, delivered on the third day of deliberations, declared Combs, 55, not guilty of 1 count of racketeering conspiracy and 2 counts of sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, but guilty of 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. Or as one commenter said when researching this article, he's been charged with a Tuesday afternoon in Vegas. That's literally what it is, unfortunately. That's a classic Vegas stereotype of a conviction. Or if you're a producer in Hollywood, that's how you get extras, right? That's the gross business of show business, what I've heard. Later Wednesday, U.S. District Judge Arnu, how do you say that? Subramanian? I don't know how to pronounce that. Denied Combs' bail request, saying it would be impossible for him to prove he does not pose a danger. The verdict is seen as a win for Combs and his defense team, which did not call a single witness during the 7-week trial. Not a single witness in this trial. Where have I heard this before? I feel like I feel like I've seen this action before. It's almost like they're trying to cover up in the same way they try to cover up. Who's that guy? Oh, that's right, Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Kind of interesting. Kind of interesting that they would not bring a single witness, just like they did those trials, to cover up sex trafficking. Go figure. After it was read, his family stood in the background, clapping and cheering. Combs fell to his knees in prayer. As he left the courtroom, he told his family, "Thank you, love you." Tenny Geragos, one of Combs' attorneys, broke out in tears. His lead attorney, Mark Angeliniflo, made it a fist in triumph as the defense team hugged one another and hugged his family. "It's a great victory for Sean Combs," he's told reporters outside the courtroom. "It's a great victory for the jury system. You saw that the Southern District of New York prosecutors came at him with all that they had." Angelifo had asked the judge, I don't know how to pronounce that name correctly, my apologies, to release Combs from federal detention where he was been for nearly a year. He was also asked Combs to release on its conditions to his home in Malibu, offering a $1 million bond. Combs has been a model prisoner. Combs has been a model prisoner who is in the process on working on himself and has no plans to flee, Angelio said. Come on. Come on. A guy who beats up his girlfriend in a hotel lobby. A guy who's involved in freak-offs. Oh, he's a model prisoner. Come on. Come on. I mean, I believe in second chances. We all saw Shawshank Redemption, but come on. Sean Combs, P. Diddy, Dumb Diddy Do. Come on. In his denial, the judge cited Combs' attorney's own words, "We own the domestic violence," and said prosecutors had presented evidence that Combs had engaged in years of lifelong violence. "He continues to be a danger to others," the judge said. Sentencing a date of October 3rd. Prosecutors are seeking between 4 and 5 years behind bars, the judge said. Wow. Must be nice to have money. This is why I find the whole judicial process at this point, seeing more and more of these cases, just an absolute joke. It's an absolute joke. Like, you realize that people posting on social media in European countries right now are getting a harsher prison sentence than a man convicted of domestic assault and sex trafficking minors. What does that tell you about the world? What does that tell you about the judicial process? What does that tell you when they get this guy scot-free and crime is still a racket within the United States? Because they don't actually want to do anything about it. They want to keep the crimes going to make people scared and paranoid, to cause more chaos, because guess what? The establishment thrives on chaos. They thrive on it. They want to make sure that you, the peasants in your communities and streets, get absolutely conflicted with all this crime sprees that are happening. They want to make you paranoid. They want to make you scared. They want to make you live in chaos, so you bend the knee towards them for an authoritarian state. It's not actually solving the crime. It's so that they can take control over you. But that's a different conversation we can have another day. But there was something interesting to this trial. And like I said, anyone who has seen the whole process, if you've been following along, you're looking step by step of who's involved in this trial, the verdict isn't shocking. Unfortunately, the verdict isn't shocking. I didn't even find it shocking. Once this got revealed, once this little tidbit got revealed, I knew that it was going down this direction. I knew that they weren't actually going to convict him of his heinous crimes. Because, and as this guy Amuse points out, Sean Diddy Combs was acquitted of the most serious charges against him, but was found guilty of 2 lesser charges. some observers are asking if the prosecutor, Maureen Comey, why does that name sound familiar? Because that is the daughter of former FBI director James Comey. Ah! And this is also the same Maureen Comey that sabotaged this case and also was the chief prosecutor for Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. So this right here, this little tidbit here was pretty much the verdict. This is how I knew it was going to be a non-guilty plea. This is how I knew that he was not going to get prosecuted. This is how I knew that the whole trial was a joke. The moment you realize that Maureen Comey, the head prosecutor involved in the sham trials of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, and as the daughter of the former FBI director, who the Comeys alone is a corrupted criminal syndicate of America. They are a joke to the actual fundamentals of law and order, the fundamentals of the judicial process. The moment you realize she's involved in this case, that's when you know Sean Diddy Combs was safe. That's how you know it was safe. So, this is the big giveaway. This is the big giveaway. And anyone that saw this, anyone that noticed this right away, are obviously not shocked that Sean Diddy got acquitted. That he was able to away scot-free, because they have to keep this going. They have to keep this kind of blackmail, which is what Sean Diddy Combs was doing in the process of the freak-offs. This is getting dirt on people. His clientele, the people that were going to freak-off parties, he was getting dirt on them. He was getting sexual exploitation out of these individuals to blackmail them. The same way Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell have been doing it internationally for years. They have to keep this going, because if they actually did prosecute Sean Diddy Combs for these crimes, if they actually followed by law and prosecuted this man, then they would also have to crack down on every single clientele that Sean Diddy Combs was involved with. Every celebrity, every member of the royal family, anyone who's been in contact with this guy, involved in these freak-offs, involved in the sex trafficking, they would also have to be prosecuted. But they won't allow that to happen, because some of these people that are trying to prosecute P. Diddy are involved in this. So, I knew this was going to be a non-guilty verdict the moment I saw this. The moment I realized that Maureen Comey, the daughter of the corrupt former FBI director, was a chief prosecutor for this case. Of course he's going to get away. Of course they're not going to prosecute. If they prosecute him, they're going to have to go after other individuals. They have to track down that Jeffrey Epstein list. You know, the one that we're supposed to be getting anytime now for the last year. We're supposed to get it at some point. Oh, Donald Trump, once he gets presidency, we're going to get it. Oh, Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, we're going to get it at some point. Still nothing. Why? Because blackmail is powerful. It's like Whitney Webb's book. It really makes the world go round. Blackmail is the new form of money. In fact, blackmail is what a lot of these individuals get their money from. You think Jeffrey Epstein was a billionaire based off his work? Based off being a math tutor for the rich elite? No. He got the money because he got paid off, because he was basically a spy to track down these individuals and blackmail them for money. That's how he became a success. That's how he became so powerful, is he had information dirt on people. Just like if people remember the former, oh God, I'm blanking on the name here. James Edgar Hoover. That guy, who was the head of the FBI at the time, was the most powerful individual in America. Why would a pencil pusher for the FBI be the most powerful individual? Because he had dirt on everybody. And when you have information on everybody, that's what makes you powerful. Knowledge is power, folks. Don't forget that. Knowledge is truly powerful. So here, Viva Fry pointed this out. And Viva Fry, who used to be an attorney in Montreal, I do believe, actually predicted this. He was one of the few individuals that actually predicted this. So Viva Fry says she was a lead prosecutor in the Epstein case, meaning Maureen Comey. Epstein killed himself, in quotations. No clients of the sex trafficking revealed. She was the lead prosecutor in the Ghislaine Maxwell case. No clients of the sex trafficking revealed. She is the chief prosecutor in the P. Diddy case. Apparently, P. Diddy was sex trafficking to himself. That was the defense. They didn't list any of the clientele. They didn't list any of the other Hollywood celebrities that were involved in these freak-offs, even though the evidence was clear. And that's why I find Sean P. Diddy Combs guilty, because we can look at all the evidence. We can look at all the talk show appearances that Sean Combs was a part of. He was sitting with Conan O'Brien bragging about it. And Conan O'Brien, being the good little boy, being a stooge for the establishment, was like, yeah, okay, you had these freak-off parties, you invited people to have sex with underage, okay, yeah, that's not creepy at all, because I'm probably part of it, yeah. So, of course, they're not going to actually convict him of anything. Viva Fry predicted that, and I had a hunch that this was coming because of all the other sham trials that they try to convict people. Oh, we're going to crack down on pedophilia. We're going to crack down on sex trafficking, but not actually reveal any information, not actually shut down the rings because, hey, blackmail runs the world. And we can't do that. We can't do that. Especially when our good ally, Israel, is harboring a bunch of fugitives that are convicted of pedophilia and sex trafficking. Did you know that? Apparently, it's less of a safe state for Jews, but more of a safe state for pedophilia and sex trafficking individuals. Go figure. So here, I want to show this. So Alex Jones, obviously, deeply got involved in this. And despite what people feel about Alex Jones, I mean, we can go into detail about certain accusations that he made. But the way I say about Alex Jones, the way I even say about Trump, is that even a broken clock is right twice a day. And sometimes he does say the right thing. Sometimes there is a diamond in the rough. And Alex Jones, who also was digging through the evidence and digging through the information and revealed that James Comey's daughter was one of the chief prosecutors, also predicted that this was not going to end. So here's Alex Jones revealing that P. Diddy is just the tip of the iceberg of the international child trafficking syndicate that has captured the U.S. government. Must watch, share Alex Jones deep dive. Now, this is a 15-minute interview. I'm not going to show you all of it, but I'm going to show you just a bit of it in sped up motion, just to show you how much of a sham trial this is. How much of a joke this is. They pretend to prosecute people and be like, yeah, we're on top of this. Law and order. We're going to crack down these people. When we know that the criminals that are prosecuting other criminals are criminals themselves. Like George Carlin. It's a big, giant club, and you and I ain't in it. So here's this.
The first verdict on count 1, racketeering conspiracy. How do you find the defendant not guilty? And so now they'll move on to count 2. Count 2, how do you find the defendant not guilty? That is the sex trafficking of Cassandra Ventura. On count 3, which is Mann Act transportation involving Cassie Ventura, guilty. Count 4, sex trafficking of Jane, not guilty. Count 5, Mann Act transportation of Jane, guilty. So a mixed verdict here. Not guilty on 3 of the charges, guilty on 2 of the charges. Lisa, your reaction?
Now, I do more than 30 hours total broadcasting one way or another every week. So the crew always has a monumental job to find stuff. A lot of people on X find it. I know at least a dozen times or more, I predicted that he would be found not guilty on the racketeering and organized sex trafficking, but that they would find him guilty of being a pimp. That's what they did. Now, why did I know that? It wasn't even a prediction. Maureen Comey, the daughter of the disgraced FBI director, who we now know did order the Epstein case covered up and not given to FBI officers around the country and hidden in New York, and then they lied and told Pam Bondi and Kash Patel there were no files, and then they had to raid it 4 months ago, if you remember. We broke it here first with the whistleblower FBI O'Boyle and then Kyle Seraphin. So they had to raid the New York offices of the FBI, and then across the road, you've got the Southern District of New York with Maureen Comey and the other prosecutors who specialize and get all the major sex trafficking cases that are connected to U.S. and foreign intelligence, like Mossad MI6. They're all the same thing. And that's all come out. So she acts like, oh, she's really going after him. But what she does is just like in the Ghislaine Maxwell case and others that are given to her, that they're all given to her and a couple of the prosecutors in that unit, dozens of them. And then it limits it to just one fall guy or one fall lady. And then they always move later with error they put in there on purpose on the convictions that are there to then get their fall guys out. Remember FBI's James Denny, he resigned over Epstein files cover-up. He had to resign. He should be indicted. And they get these guys that have Mr. America, Ward Cleaver looks. And they go, well, that guy, looks like a handsome conservative guy. He's trustworthy. Why, he's a former Marine. And what did he say in his email that he sent to the FBI? He said, we're dug in. Trump's the enemy. This is a war. We're not helping him with anything. That's obstruction of justice.
So once you find out who's involved in these cases, once you read between the lines and actually follow through beyond the headlines of the Sean Diddy Combs and Ghislaine Maxwell, and, people think that, oh, justice is going to be served. We're finally going to get it. And you realize these little tidbits. Oh, by the way, the chief prosecutor is the daughter of the disgraced FBI director who should be prosecuted himself. That's how you know all these are a joke. That the Sean Diddy Combs case, the cracking down, the expose, it's all a joke. It's all a goddamn joke. Do you think this is going to stop the sex trafficking? No, absolutely not. Because of how many people and the power and influence is involved with these crimes. We're not just talking about certain, extras on a Hollywood set. We're talking about very powerful individuals, very powerful, as far up as royalty. Prince Andrew, for God's sakes. It will never, ever be revealed. Just like Dan Bongino and Kash Patel. They came in saying, we're going to crack down the FBI. We're going to find out the truth. Remember, Trump said before he got elected, oh, we're going to open up the files on JFK. We're going to open, everything's going to be revealed the moment I become president. And then guess what? We'll get to it some point, but I doubt it's going to happen. Because no doubt the Trump administration, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, all those individuals, even Tulsi Gabbard, even RFK Jr., they're all being pressured. They're all being pressured. And this is what I've been saying. No matter who gets in office, no matter what party you come from, no matter if they say the right thing or the wrong thing, once you get into the club, once you get into this cult, they got you. They baited you. And we saw this with AOC. We see that with Bernie Sanders. You see that with people in the Trump administration. You see that here in Canada. This is how corrosive and disgusting, diabolical politics really is. People just think, it's, like little corruption, like a car dealer, like a car salesman. No, it's deviant. It's diabolical. It's malfeasance. It's blackmailing. It's violating their own ethics laws to power themselves up. And they'll go after and pressure anybody to do anything. And that's why all this is such a joke. It's such a joke. And if they can't convict people of the most heinous, serious offenses in the world, why should I be shocked or surprised that they're barely convicting crimes on the streets and why they're allowing these crimes to continue? It's all part of this chaos in motion to fuel up the establishment because criminals run the world. These are criminals. These are not good people. These are not people to be trusted one bit. This guy alone, here's right there. Look at that. James Comey is the guy who, through memes, remember the 8647? That man should have been held to trial. That man should have been fired. That man should have been on trial for making a meme threatening the U.S. president. Where was the prosecution on that? Oh, of course he's not going to prosecute it because he's a Comey. He's the former disgraced FBI director. He has power. He has influence. He has dirt on everybody. So it's shocking, not shocking, the verdict on P. Diddy. And for those who have been paying attention, it comes to less of a surprise to know that they weren't going to do anything, period. They weren't going to do anything, period. The whole entire trial was just a sham. It made you believe, that's the whole thing, it made you believe that, oh, the U.S. judicial courts are actually prosecuting people. They're actually going to do something about this. Yay us! Keep believing in the institutions. When the same institutions are corrupted by master criminals that should be prosecuted. I mean, you look at places like Iceland, you look at Nordic countries, when, when elite bankers in those countries are involved in corruption, in scandals, in malfeasance against the country and against their citizens, they prosecute the hell out of them. And it scared the bejesus out of the rest of the administration. But apparently, in this side of the world, it's the opposite. It's the opposite. We let the criminals run things, run the institutions, pretend to look like the good guys, and scare the bejesus out of the citizens. No, the government's supposed to be scared of the citizens. That's how it's supposed to be. But they make believe, they trick you, they mind control, they do all this stuff to make you and bait you to think that they're actually good. When you could see in clear daylight that these are the sinister people that get away with the most heinous crimes, continue on because that's what makes them powerful. That's what makes them influential. And if word got out, if more and more convictions happen, if they actually fall through on prosecuting P. Diddy, then they'll have to go to every person that was involved in these freak-offs and prosecute them. And the whole entire syndicate, the whole criminal cartel would implode. But they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. Blackmail makes the world go round, unfortunately.